Hello everyone, it's DuckFairy07. Today I'm playing incredibly efficient low mana curve DIMIR Shadow Brew, and this deck got a lot of powerful new toys to try out. So we got Nethergoyfs, we got Tamiyos, we got Sink into Stupors, we've got on the sideboard the cards like Toxic Deluge, Consign to Memory, Disruptor Flute, a lot of new cards. Okay, so Nethergoyf is just incredible card in this deck. It's like the best card in this deck. It's in this build, it's just consistently very large when you start attacking on turn 2. You have Thoughtseizes, you have Preordains, Fatal Push, Mishra Bubble, to Street Raid to grow your Nethergoyf in the early turns, and it's very simple, it's very efficient. Twice I was able to attack for 5 damage on turn 2, which was just crazy. Also consistently attacking for 3 damage, rarely below that, so it's just a very powerful addition to this deck, and maybe at this moment I would say like the best card of this deck. And the Tamiyo is very close second, sometimes even better. Okay, so you can have the crazy draws with the Tamiyo. With the Street Raid, it is possible to flip the Tamiyo on turn 1, which is just insane. If it didn't happen to me so far, doesn't seem that hard to draw 2 Street Raids and the Tamiyo on turn 1, flip it immediately. So works very well with the Street Raid. Street Raid of course works very well with the Death Shadow, and the Bubble also working great with the both Nethergoyf and Tamiyo. I think this build just kind of deck builds itself, and the logical inclusions, and since you're trying to do all that, it's natural that you're trying to be as aggressive as possible, as aggressive as it gets in the Dimir build like this one. Also, Stubborn Denial now has another 4 power threat in this build, so it gets even better than it was before when this list played just Shadow and Murktide. Now you also have Goyf. And from all decks I tried so far, none of the decks flipped Tamiyo so easily as this one. So you got Street Raid, Mishra Bubble, kind of cycling all the time, doing the incidental draw, then you just draw into the Preordain or sack a clue and flip your Tamiyo just like that. Very easy. And for the 0 mana investment both in Street Raid and Bubble, Tamiyo just works incredibly efficient here. Okay, so that's it. In this sideboard, another amazing thing about this build is that only 2 mana card in this build are Counterspell and Murktide Regent, which is just it is just so mana efficient, and all the spells you play are so powerful. Fatal Push, Great Removal, Thoughtseize, Dismembers, Stubborn Denials, Preordain. It's just very mana efficient deck. On the sideboard, as I already mentioned, we got Toxic Deluge, great addition to the Death Shadow sideboards. Great against aggro decks, killing the smaller creatures, and bigger creatures like Murktide, Shadow and Goyf survive. We got Consign to Memory. This card triggers triggered abilities and colorless spells. So it's very versatile, it can do a lot of stuff. The highlight of the Consign to Memory, I was able to counter Emrakul's triggered ability for extra turn, and then Subtlety the Emrakul. That was kind of funny. Okay, so we've got Disruptor's Flute, also the new card. It's a decent, similar to Pitting Needle solution, which you can play instant speed. I think that is relevant for this build, and the reason why I like it before some other options. Damping Sphere, incredibly important sideboard card at the moment. Great against Turbo Nadu spells and a Storm. And some other decks too, of course, that play Eugene's Labyrinth, Eldrazi Temple, or Tronlands, of course. So it's also great against Amulet Titan. It's just a super powerful card at the moment that it's great in a lot of sideboards. Okay, so this deck is weak to the Chalice of the Void, and also Consign to Memory can deal with that. But at the moment, my solution for the Chalice deck was just bounce it and then Thoughtseize it, and or just play your 1 mana spells, play out your hand at the right moment. But definitely I can see just adding some better solutions to it, or adding a color to deal with it as a viable option, because Dimir doesn't really have that much. So that's it. Okay, we can go to the gameplay now, but before that, just a reminder, if you want to support my channel, you can go down to thecardelc.com. Check out their tokens. They offer a really practical token solution for your paper collection, and if you use the link down from below in the video description, if you're using my link to make a purchase there, you are supporting my channel. Okay, thanks, and we go now to check out the gameplay. Okay, so in the match 1, I only played one league today with this deck, but just to make a video, and I immediately felt that deck really feels good, yeah, here I was able to preordain into second land, start attacking with Goyf. Goyf's just so huge here, turn 2 attacking for 3, and now I draw into the bubble, make a Goyf 4-5, dismember the Emery and play third Goyf, and now Goyfs are 5-6 on turn 3. That is just amazing, and what a great game to start this video with. Okay, so let's check out game 2. Okay, so definitely a deck has problems against a Chalice or Trinisphere, and recently this week there was Eldrazi build that played 4 of both in the main, so I can see that potentially being a problem and needing a solution for something like that. Okay, so it is funny, like I draw from the bubble here and just attack with Tamiyo, then cycle the Street Wraith and just like that flip the Tamiyo. Unfortunately, I wasn't lucky enough here to draw a land, so I got stuck on the lands here, and I mean, this deck, it is incredible, but this deck can actually function with a single land. I just play a 5-6 every turn. But yeah, unfortunately, also my opponent has Tormod Crypt, which they found with Urza Saga, and unfortunately, I can't block both of these creatures, so my Tamiyo won't survive. If I was able to draw a land the turn before, I will be able to block both of these creatures and then ulti the Tamiyo, draw into Dress Down and probably just win this game. But it didn't happen. I drew the land turn too late, and now I wasn't able to win anymore. So yeah, that was it. They made another token, find a cookbook, then play another cookbook, and their constructs are too large now, so they eventually got the win. So let's check out game 3. Okay, so game 3, keeping a pretty decent hand. So actually with the fetch, Watery Grave, Thoughtseize and Street Wraith, I can play Death Shadow on turn 2, which is always feels incredible when playing Shadow deck. And here I am already on 11 on turn 2 here. My opponent plays Thoughtseize, but they have to choose between letting me play Shadow or Murktide, and they choose to discard Murktide. So I was able to play the Shadow here, grow Shadow down to the 5-5, and pass the turn holding a Sink into Stupor. This enables me to like just tempo them out for a turn. Sink into Stupors are just so great in this build. And I decide to play the second Shadow, hold just Fatal Push, expect them to make a construct token. So I kill the construct token, they can't block it, they go down to 5 and they decide to concede. That is the match. Let's check out now match 2. Okay, so match 2, playing first, keeping Tamiyo, double Tamiyo on the play. I don't have any draw spells at the moment, but yeah, Tamiyo has multiple uses. Sometimes it's just good when it's making these clues and just attacking. Sometimes you want it like to flip as soon as possible. Okay, so here my opponent plays Ajani, and I'm now able to attack with Tamiyo, draw a card from a clue, flip a Tamiyo because I had Street Wraith, and then I plus the Tamiyo, which makes their attacking much less efficient. And my opponent does a mistake there, accidentally skips their combat, so that was a pretty big misclick for the opponent. But now I untap with the Tamiyo on 8. Tamiyo goes on 8 now, which is pretty large, and I can play the Murktide, Fatal Push, whatever, so that's it. Okay, opponent, the replay blocked, but that was it. I just played the Murktide and the Shadow, and opponent, I played the Fatal Push, and Murktide opponent conceded next turn, so that is it. Let's check out game 2. I play a big blocker and the opponent is just not able to deal with Tamiyo, so there is no way they can get back into the game. Okay, so here I cycle the Street Wraith, I sack the bubble and play the Goyf, and the Goyf is already a 3-4 on turn 1. Then I play the Preordain. I play the Preordain, and like if I had Fatal Push for Sorin, I would be able to attack for 5 damage with Nethergoyf on turn 2, which is just like incredible. Maybe I should have gone for Surveil there to try to grow the Goyf, but I think that's totally fine. Opponent, very cool actually, flips the Sorin here. They play it, gain some life, and do the extort ability. Now I'm attacking Sorin, and I fetch down to 9, go for the basic, and actually play triple Shadow. Yeah, this is great position for me, just playing triple Shadow here, but opponent goes for MH3, do the extort ability, then gain life with the Guide of the Souls, then play the bolt, do another extort ability, and now they can actually give flying to their Bowmaster, and amazingly opponent finds lethal here with Sorin. I definitely didn't expect that, but it was a pretty cool turn for the opponent. Pretty interesting deck, this Mardu. I really like it a lot. I will probably be trying some Mardu build soon too. Okay, so let's check out game 3. I'm starting first, so of course I'm going to start with Tamiyo here. I don't have my draw spells, but it's fairly easy to find them in this deck. Okay, so here I play the Preordain, crack the bubble, draw the card. I have double removal here, which is great news when playing against this deck. So I go for the Fatal Push. They also have Ragavan here, so now I'm able to play the Dismember, go down to 10 and play Murktide Regent. I was thinking about playing smaller or bigger Murktide, but in the end I decided to play a 6/6 Murktide. It would be better for me if I played a smaller Murktide first, but it's kind of hard to deal with Ajani. So I wanted to definitely use a counterspell there and then play my Murktide as a 5/5 here. Okay, so I had to start attacking. I have Deluge in my hand, which is great against their deck, killing their smaller creatures. And you can see my sideboarding plan here. I just trimmed a couple of Thoughtseize and Street Wraith, then a post board to be able to put in the Deluge and the Nihil spell bombs, because they play Flage. I think probably 4 of them. And yeah, okay, so I was able to attack here, play the bubble, and they fetch down to 2, and yeah, they don't find a solution for my Murktide, so that is the match. Okay, let's check out match 3. Match 3, yeah. Okay, so in the match 3, I have Tamiyo and I have a double Preordain on turn 2, so if my Tamiyo survives, I'm guaranteed just to flip it immediately, and I even have a bubble there. I'm also thinking about flipping or not flipping, and when I find a Goyf, I actually decide not to flip Tamiyo this turn. I would really wanted to jam the Goyf and just start attacking for as much damage as I can, and I had a bubble plus Preordain to like flip Tamiyo on turn 3, which is also like pretty good. And now I have Goyfs and double Goyf Tamiyo flipped, and I'm holding Stubborn Denial in case they try whatever, like play the One Ring or something like that. So I go for the Thoughtseize. Actually, I used the Tamiyo ability to get the Thoughtseize back after I saw their hand. So I discarded the Line Breaker and the Flesh Raker. Yeah, this was kind of a funny build by opponent. Loker Eldrazi build. Playing cards like Vile Aggregate, which has power equal to the number of colorless creatures they control, and they're playing this guy, which makes a bunch of Eldrazi spawn creatures, which then makes and dealing damage every time a colorless creature enters the battlefield, which makes your what is it called? The guy that has power equal to the number of colorless creatures can make that creature really large. Okay, so also Tamiyo works decently in multiples, because when you have flipped one Tamiyo, then second one can be used as creature which provides you with the clue tokens. Blocks their 2/2s, whatever. Okay, so I was able to kill their aggregate, and my opponent is now down on 6. They are in a pretty bad position, and they decide to concede here. That is the game. Let's check out game 2. Okay. Opponent starts off with Eldrazi Temple. You can see my sideboarding plan here. Since I'm playing second, I always against aggro decks, I want to trim on Street Wraiths a bit. Yeah, no great changes, just trim couple of counter spells, couple of Street Wraiths, and that's it. Brought in Deluge because they can really go wide with this guy. Yeah, this really quickly goes very wide. Okay, so I was able again to play like a triple Nethergoyf here. I didn't use a Fatal Push. I kind of wanted to try to use Toxic Deluge, but my opponent plays the Aggregate, which has a 5 toughness, so I can't really attack into it. But I'm in a decent situation, and holding the counterspell, holding the Fatal Push. We are just in a top deck mode, both players trying to find some guess. They go for the Scion here. Scion Summoner, making a spawn token. Not a very good card, not sure why my opponent is playing this one. Other cards are not that bad, it's kind of interesting build with the Flash Raker and the Wild Aggregate, which can be very efficient decks, threats in a decks like this. But yeah, like Scion Summoner is just not doing a great job here. Okay, so I have double Goyf and Fatal Push and the counterspell for the next turn. My opponent saves Apostle Blessing as their last card to save their aggregate, but aggregate is just a 3-4 now, and my Goyfs are 4-5. Still can't no efficient attack here, but I'm more likely to find something good from the top, and the two counterspells are also just pretty efficient because they don't have Cavern of Souls. So so now I'm able to play very large Death Shadow. Death Shadow is a 7/7 here, so I can start really start attacking here without any fear of my opponent doing anything. So I decide to just go for the Deluge and kill all of my creatures and clean my entire opponent side, and they concede to the Deluge. So that was the match. Okay, so let's check out, this was a 3-2 league, so let's check out the two defeats from this league. I only played, as I said, a single league with this deck, but I don't have to play much to kind of see just how well is deck functioning. There is of course some tension between Nethergoyf and the Murktide Regent, but that is why I'm only playing 2 Murktide Regents and not more. And also like the deck plays a lot of these cheap spells that go into the graveyard, so it's kind of easy to grow Nethergoyfs back after you shrink them when playing the Murktide. And also when you play the Murktide, and you have like this big dragon winning you the game, so it's mostly plays out very well. Okay, so I'm stuck on 2 lands here, and I have double counterspell, and I know my opponent's hand. They have like a Tainted Indulgence, they have a Goryo's Vengeance, they have Grief. Here they play the Thoughtseize. Now this means they can play the Indulgence, so I guess I'm fine by that. I can go for a Surveil land here or to play the Murktide, or I can just play the Shadow and hold counterspell. I really don't want to let them play the Indulgence. If I let them play the Indulgence, then they put Atraxa in the graveyard, and they have a Priest of the Fellarites in the graveyard, which I can't counter. So I have to be careful about that spell. Don't let them resolve it, and this is the key spell to counter in this game. And okay, so here I also find a land to play my Murktide. Murktide pretty great here. Turn 5/7/7 Murktide played a lot of interaction in the meantime too, and now I have Dismember plus Murktide, expecting them to hardcast this Grief. So now their hand is Goryo's and Atraxa and the mystery card. So that is like the incredible position for me. I go for a Surveil land, putting Tamiyo in the graveyard and playing another Murktide and growing this one to 8/8, which means I just made my clock a 2-turn clock here. My opponent doesn't have much, just a Goryo's and Atraxa, nothing else. So very, very unlikely to be able to do something. Okay. So passing the turn, and opponent plays a Survey land and actually finds Grizzlebrand from the top of their library for the win. So yeah, opponent didn't top deck for a turn, but they top decked the survey land to put Grizzlebrand into the yard. Survey lands are pretty strong, and this is like the most obvious example just how strong these survey lands are. Like my opponent, it is better than drawing a card because the card wouldn't let them graveyard the Grizzlebrand, but this just lets them graveyard the Grizzlebrand and then win using the Gorios. Incredible. Yeah, incredible win by my opponent. Let's check out game 2. Okay, so I trimmed some street raids, trimmed the one shadow because they're solitude deck, and I removed all fatal pushes. Fatal pushes are just pretty bad against them. I didn't have spots for Consign to Memory. Consign to Memory can counter like a Solitude, of course, which can be pretty good, but also can counter the Atraxa, but I didn't find room for it. Maybe I should. I don't need anything else. Okay, so I was able to like put Goyf on the field, counterspell in hand. So attacking here, pretty good, pretty well positioned. My opponent already down on 12 and I play Goyf, I play Tamiyo. This is a 2-turn clock with Nethergoyf and I have a counterspell in my hand. Opponent goes for Solitude, taking one of the Goyfs, so I just go for the attacks. Here. I draw into Sink into Stupor, that is good news. So now I can choose to flip Tamiyo if I want, or I can just hold the counterspell, but I decide to go for the Tamiyo here. Tamiyo now I can plus now Tamiyo to 4, which means next turn I can get back the Thoughtseize and or just plus the Tamiyo, whatever, but I decide to put Flusterstorm in my hand, and now I don't need to hold a counterspell. I can go for Preordain, put a Shadow in the field, play another Shadow if I want, and just hold the Flusterstorm. They can't really play around Flusterstorm, they can't do anything about it, they just have to go for the Gorios and then lose to Fluster. Okay, so my opponent actually finds a Grief, but that is not enough. I have lethal on the next turn, a lot of damage on my side of the field, and opponent concedes. That is game 2. Now let's check out game 3. Okay, so the first one was very close. In the second one, I just had too much. And in the third one, my opponent started first, taking my Preordain. So I had multiple options. I really wanted to try to. I had street raids, so there's a big chance I can just very easily flip Tamiyo on the next turn before my opponent does anything relevant. Okay, so I go for the Tamiyo attack just to make the clue token. What is funny, I can actually just, if I want, I can flip the Tamiyo on their turn. Just crack the clue, cycle the street raid, and crack the Mishra bubble immediately. Okay, so I decide to go for the street raid immediately, try to find something to deal with this guy, but I didn't find it, which means if they have a spell like a Tainted Indulgence or some discard a spell, they can just reanimate the Atraxa here, and my draws weren't good enough and they were able to play before I even draw a card. So yeah, they got the Atraxa, they got the Ephemerate plus the Grief, and my draws were terrible, and I just concede with 3 lands in my hand, so that was a loss against Gorios. Let's check out the last match of this league. I played against Eldrazi, but kind of a more popular version of Eldrazi. Okay, so played the Preordain, played the Bubble, passing the turn, now I sack Bubble and their upkeep. This is very relevant in a lot of cases when you're playing a Tamiyo, so if I now draw into the Tamiyo, I can just play the Tamiyo, so I already draw a second card from the top. If I have Preordain in my hand or Street Wraith, I can just cycle it or play to flip the Tamiyo. It's really efficient. Okay, so I played the Goyf here. Goyf is incredible. A 4/5 creature here. My opponent can't attack with turn 2 Line Breaker, which is amazing. Okay, so I hold the Sink into the Stupor. And my opponent tries to play second Line Breaker, so I really wanted to just try to get rid of that. They go in for 4 with their Line Breaker, and now I go Thoughtseize. And I completely forget that this guy can bounce creatures. I actually only used it so far to exile artifact enchantment, so I completely forgot this guy can actually bounce. And yeah, then I misplayed and just made things very easy for my opponent. They just bounce my creature, give the battle mage haste, and just immediately kills me. Attack exactly 4 lethal, so that is the game. Very hard misplay there, but yeah, okay, so let's check out game 2. No creatures, but I have a lot of useful cards here. So what to start with? I think best to start here is bubble yourself. See if you're going to play shock or a fetch. Then I always start with Thoughtseize. In a situation like this, this was my opponent's hand. Double Devourer, Reality Smasher. If that heralds the end, and Eugene's Labyrinth, I decide to take the Reality Smasher and just push the if that heralds the end. Okay, so now I crack bubble and pass the turn. My opponent actually has 4 mana here, so I definitely want to play the Damping Sphere. Okay, so I decide to go for the Dismember, go for the Fatal Push and the Death Shadow, so play all my 3 spells this turn. Very mana efficient here. Opponent plays if that heralds the end, and that is the last card in their hand. They have the Devourer below the Labyrinth, and they put it back into their hand when I cast the Sphere. Now I'm attacking with the large Death Shadow. I have Counterspell backup on my turn. I start the turn with Preordain, and now also find Murktide. Murktide's easily an 8/8 here. Okay, opponent attacks. I decided it's best for me to hold the counterspell for their turn. I think that was a good decision, and then I just play the Sink into the Stupor, make my Shadow just attack for lethal immediately. So that is the win. Let's check out game 3. Okay, so all pretty much close games, and yeah, okay, here my opponent plays turn 1 if that heralds the end. That is very strong start, but I have also pretty strong start. I have a turn 1 Goyf, a turn 2 Dismember, if that heralds the end, then play the Shadow or hold Consign to memory, which is just pretty strong. Okay, so my opponent plays the Line Breaker here, making like it very easy for me to cast a Shadow, but I had a feeling that Consign to memory will be relevant here, so I decided just to hold that and stay back with my Goyf as a blocker. I go down to 4. And I play the Damping Sphere. I have my shadow is 9/9 at the moment, pretty big. I just started attacking with Nethergoyf, but my opponent now plays the Thoughteize, and I kind of had to shock in down to 2 life here, and I had to risk a bit. My bet was that opponent is going to try to play the creature, I'm going to subtilt it and block both. That was my game plan. But again, this Wayscape Battle Mage, this guy won 2 times today, lost 2 matches because of this guy. It's very good, bouncing the creature as a kicker ability. I really like this one. Okay, so that's it. I took a risk there, tried to tempo them out, go in with the Death Shadow, and yeah, that was try to trick them with subtlety, but that wasn't enough. So that was the game. Okay, so that was the last match of this league. I think all in all, pretty fun league, very representative. Even the matches I lost were also kind of interesting, fun, and representative of how deck usually plays out. There are definitely some good and bad matchups for this deck. I think all these matchups you saw in this league are fine. Like there's this new Mardu deck with Sorin, that's very cool, and we saw the Stompy Eldrazi build that's also kind of popular at the moment, very interesting to play too, and that's it. So I'm very happy with this build. As I said, there is some tension between Murktide Regent and Nethergoyf, but in my experience, they play out pretty decent together, and after you shrink your Goyf by casting the Murktide Regent, it's fairly easy to grow it back up at least to 3 power or 4 power, so I don't worry about that too much, and as I said, I'm very happy with this build. But the things you have to worry about are like Chalice of the Void and Trinisphere, kind of hate played at the moment to beat the Ruby Storm, the Nadu decks, stuff like that. So yeah, there's definitely that. Could maybe add some hate in the sideboard, or even a color. This is a shadow deck, so if we go Grixis, if we go Sultai, for pick your poison, it's all just very doable, very easy to splash. Just cut 1 sink into Stupor, cut 1 shock, and just add 2 green ones. So that's like pretty easy, and that's it. Okay, so thank you for watching. For the end, friendly reminder to click like, click subscribe. Tell me, how do you like this version of Shadow compared to other builds, other Shadow builds? There are plenty of those you can find around, but I really like playing this one, like having this really low mana curve. The mana efficiency is just incredible, and the quality of spells is just so high, and it feels like you only want third color in these shadow decks for the sideboard cards, maybe like Pick Your Poison or some other spell that can actually kill the Chalice of the Void would be a good option for the sideboard. And but that's all in all, that's it. And yeah, again, so thank you for watching, and goodbye.